Have you ever met someone who felt emotionally untouchable? Someone calm, unreadable, difficult to manipulate, almost impossible to control? While most people react emotionally to attention, rejection, validation, criticism, or social pressure, emotionally detached people often remain strangely calm. And that calmness can feel incredibly powerful. In a world where emotions control most human behavior, the person who controls their emotions often controls themselves. And the person who controls themselves becomes difficult for the world to control. Welcome to Brain Ritual. Today, we are exploring the deep psychology behind why emotionally detached people are often perceived as powerful, intimidating, attractive, and mentally strong. But the truth behind emotional detachment is far more complicated than most people realize. Sometimes detachment is wisdom. Sometimes it is survival. And sometimes it is the result of pain people never talk about. Human beings are emotional creatures. Every day, emotions silently shape decisions, relationships, social behavior, attraction, confidence, fear, ambition, jealousy, anger, and identity. Most people spend their lives emotionally reacting to the world around them. They seek approval, fear rejection, crave attention, overthink criticism, and become emotionally dependent on how others treat them. This emotional dependency gives external situations enormous power over the human mind. But emotionally detached people appear different. They often seem less affected by social validation, emotional drama, or other people's opinions. And because of that, they appear psychologically powerful. One reason emotionally detached people seem powerful is because they create emotional unpredictability. Human beings feel psychologically safer around emotionally predictable people. We constantly look for signals to understand how someone feels, what they think, and how they might react. But emotionally detached individuals reveal very little. Their emotional restraint creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates psychological tension. People become curious about them, sometimes intimidated by them, sometimes even emotionally obsessed with them. The human mind is naturally drawn toward mystery because mystery activates emotional curiosity. Another reason emotionally detached people appear powerful is because they are often less emotionally reactive. Most people react immediately when criticized, ignored, rejected, embarrassed, or emotionally triggered. Their emotions become visible instantly through words, tone, facial expressions, or behavior. But emotionally detached individuals often remain calm externally even during emotionally intense situations. This calmness creates the perception of control. And psychologically, humans associate emotional control with strength. This is why emotionally detached personalities are frequently portrayed as powerful in movies, leadership roles, and social dynamics. The calm strategist, the silent observer, the emotionally controlled leader. Society unconsciously connects emotional restraint with competence and intelligence. Whether accurate or not, the ability to remain composed under pressure naturally commands attention. But emotional detachment is not always natural confidence. Sometimes it develops through painful experiences. Many emotionally detached people became emotionally distant because they learned that vulnerability could lead to disappointment, betrayal, abandonment, manipulation, or emotional exhaustion. The human brain adapts to emotional pain by creating protective patterns. After enough emotional damage, some individuals stop expressing emotions openly not because they feel nothing, but because they learned that feeling too deeply became dangerous. Psychologists often describe this as emotional self-protection. The mind builds emotional walls to reduce future pain. Over time, emotionally detached individuals may become highly independent because they no longer trust emotional dependence. They learn to rely on themselves emotionally instead of expecting safety from others. This independence can appear incredibly powerful because emotionally independent people are harder to manipulate through fear, guilt, attention, or validation. Most human behavior is influenced by emotional need. People seek relationships because they fear loneliness. They seek approval because they fear rejection. They chase status because they fear insignificance. They overwork because they fear failure. Emotional needs silently control behavior constantly. But emotionally detached individuals often appear less emotionally controlled by these external pressures. As a result, they seem mentally stronger than average people. Another reason emotional detachment feels powerful is because scarcity increases psychological value. Human beings are naturally attracted to things that feel difficult to obtain emotionally. When someone constantly seeks attention, approval, or validation, people unconsciously sense emotional dependency. But emotionally detached individuals appear emotionally self-sufficient. Their attention feels rare. Their validation feels valuable. Their emotional reactions become unpredictable. This creates emotional intensity in social dynamics, especially in relationships. Ironically, many emotionally detached people become highly attractive because they appear emotionally difficult to control. Human psychology often romanticizes emotional mystery. The less emotionally available someone seems, the more emotionally curious people become. This does not always create healthy relationships, but it creates strong emotional fascination. Social media has amplified this psychology dramatically. Modern culture rewards emotional exposure constantly. People share personal feelings, daily experiences, emotional reactions, and private thoughts online every day. In such an emotionally exposed world, emotionally detached individuals stand out even more. Someone who remains private, calm, emotionally controlled, and difficult to read suddenly appears psychologically different from everyone else. But there is an important difference between emotional intelligence and emotional detachment. Emotionally intelligent people understand emotions deeply. They recognize feelings without becoming controlled by them. Emotional detachment, however, sometimes involves emotional suppression. Suppression is different from mastery. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They remain hidden beneath the surface. Many emotionally detached individuals appear calm externally while carrying enormous emotional weight internally. This is why some emotionally detached people secretly struggle with loneliness, numbness, trust issues, or emotional exhaustion. Society often misunderstands emotional detachment as invulnerability. But emotionally detached people are still human beings. Many simply became tired of emotional chaos, disappointment, or psychological instability. Silence became safer than vulnerability. One fascinating aspect of emotional detachment is how it affects social power. In human relationships, emotional dependence often creates imbalance. The person who emotionally needs the relationship more usually becomes emotionally weaker within the dynamic. Emotionally detached individuals often appear powerful because they seem emotionally less dependent on outcomes. They do not appear desperate for approval, attention, or reassurance. And desperation psychologically weakens social influence. Confidence also plays a major role here. Emotionally detached individuals often appear confident because they do not constantly seek external emotional validation. They seem comfortable existing independently. This emotional self-containment creates psychological presence. Humans naturally admire people who appear emotionally stable under pressure because stability feels rare in emotionally chaotic environments. Another reason emotionally detached people intimidate others is because they remain difficult to emotionally manipulate. Manipulation depends heavily on emotional reactions. Guilt, fear, insecurity, jealousy, validation, attention, and emotional dependency are powerful manipulation tools. But emotionally detached people often resist emotional manipulation because they react less impulsively. This creates frustration in emotionally controlling individuals who rely on emotional influence to dominate others. However, emotional detachment can become dangerous when taken too far. Extreme emotional disconnection may damage relationships, empathy, emotional intimacy, and mental health. Human beings still need emotional connection for psychological well-being. Complete emotional isolation often creates emptiness rather than strength. Healthy emotional control is not emotional numbness. True strength comes from understanding emotions without becoming enslaved by them. This is where many people misunderstand emotional power. The strongest individuals are not those who feel nothing. They are the people who feel deeply but remain emotionally balanced. Emotional mastery means emotions exist without controlling every action. Suppressing emotions completely often creates hidden psychological damage over time. There is also a biological explanation for emotional detachment. Chronic emotional stress changes the brain. Repeated heartbreak, trauma, betrayal, rejection, or instability can emotionally exhaust the nervous system. Over time, some individuals become emotionally numb because constant emotional pain overwhelms the brain's ability to process feelings normally. Detachment becomes survival, not personality. Another reason emotionally detached people seem powerful is because silence itself creates psychological intensity. Humans constantly search for emotional signals during interaction. We expect reactions, explanations, reassurance, emotional expression, and visible feelings. Emotionally detached individuals interrupt these expectations. Their emotional silence forces others to emotionally project meaning onto them. People begin guessing what they think, feel, or want. Mystery increases psychological attention. This is especially true in romantic relationships. Emotional unpredictability often creates emotional obsession because the human brain becomes fixated on uncertainty. People emotionally crave clarity. The less emotionally clear someone becomes, the more mentally consuming they often appear. This explains why emotionally detached personalities can become emotionally addictive in unhealthy relationships. But emotional detachment does not always mean someone lacks emotion. Many emotionally detached people actually feel emotions intensely internally. They simply learn not to express vulnerability openly. Some grew up in environments where emotions were ignored, punished, mocked, or unsafe. Others experienced betrayal that destroyed emotional trust. Over time, emotional distance became protection. Modern society also contributes heavily to emotional detachment. People today experience constant stimulation, social comparison, digital validation systems, emotional burnout, and relationship instability. Many individuals emotionally withdraw because emotional exhaustion becomes overwhelming. Continuous disappointment can psychologically teach people to emotionally expect less from others. There is also a philosophical side to emotional detachment. Some individuals intentionally practice emotional distance to achieve peace of mind. Philosophies like Stoicism teach emotional discipline by focusing attention only on what can be controlled internally. Stoic thinkers believed emotional suffering often increases when humans become emotionally attached to external outcomes beyond their control. Emotional calmness becomes freedom. This is why emotionally detached people often appear peaceful. They stop emotionally chasing things they cannot control. They stop seeking validation from everyone. They stop overreacting to every opinion, rejection, or emotional situation. Their calmness creates a psychological stability others admire. However, there is a dangerous illusion surrounding emotionally detached people. Society sometimes glorifies emotional coldness as strength while ignoring emotional health entirely. Emotional numbness is not always wisdom. Some emotionally detached individuals silently struggle with connection, trust, intimacy, and emotional emptiness. Looking emotionally strong does not always mean feeling emotionally healthy. Another fascinating truth is that emotionally detached people often observe others deeply. Because they react less emotionally outwardly, they spend more time analyzing behavior, patterns, intentions, and social dynamics. Observation creates awareness. Awareness creates psychological advantage. Quiet emotional control allows detached individuals to notice details emotionally reactive people miss. At the same time, emotionally detached individuals may unintentionally intimidate others because humans naturally seek emotional reciprocity. Most people feel safer when emotional energy feels mutual. But emotionally detached personalities sometimes appear emotionally unavailable or difficult to emotionally reach. This creates tension because humans fear emotional disconnection instinctively. Ironically, emotionally detached individuals are often deeply sensitive people underneath. Many simply became emotionally exhausted from caring too much for too long. Emotional numbness sometimes develops after repeated disappointment because the mind attempts to protect itself from further emotional overload. Another important aspect is self-control. Emotionally detached people often appear disciplined because they resist impulsive emotional reactions. Emotional impulsiveness destroys relationships, opportunities, and mental stability constantly. The ability to pause before reacting emotionally creates enormous psychological strength. Calmness under pressure signals emotional maturity. The deeper truth is that emotional detachment changes social dynamics, because emotionally detached people become harder to emotionally influence. The world often controls people through emotional triggers. Fear sells products. Validation controls behavior. Social approval shapes identity. Emotional insecurity drives attention-seeking culture. Someone emotionally detached from these systems appears psychologically free. Freedom itself feels powerful. And perhaps that is why emotionally detached people fascinate society so deeply. They represent something rare, emotional independence. In a world emotionally addicted to attention, approval, and external validation, emotionally detached individuals appear emotionally untouchable. But true emotional strength is not emotional emptiness. The healthiest individuals are not emotionally numb people who feel nothing. They are emotionally aware people who feel deeply without losing themselves emotionally. Real power comes from emotional balance, not emotional disconnection. In the end, emotionally detached people appear powerful because emotional control changes human psychology. Calmness creates mystery. Mystery creates attention. Attention creates influence. Emotional independence reduces manipulation. An emotional restraint creates the perception of strength. But behind many emotionally detached individuals lies a complicated story most people never see. Experiences, disappointments, emotional exhaustion, survival instincts, and silent battles hidden beneath calm faces. Sometimes emotional detachment is wisdom. Sometimes it is protection. And sometimes it is pain disguised as power.